There is a silence beneath sound, a pulse behind matter, a rhythm inside stillness. And those who have glimpsed it, mystics, scientists, visionaries, have all pointed to the same hidden code: vibration, not metaphorical, literal. Reality, in its most foundational form, is not solid. It is not static. It is not even stable. It vibrates. Particles dance. Fields fluctuate. At the quantum level, everything moves, even what appears still. And it's not chaotic. It's patterned, structured, rhythmic, a language of frequency whispered through the void. But here's the secret no one tells you. That language isn't just out there. It's speaking to you right now, because your body, this vessel of flesh and memory, is a receiver. Your heart doesn't just beat, it sinks. Your thoughts don't just drift, they resonate. Your emotions don't just rise, they modulate your frequency. And in that vibration, you are either aligned or dissonant. This is not pseudoscience. It's physics, it's mysticism, it's the bridge between. In ancient temples, chants were used to shift brain states. In sacred rituals, drums summoned altered consciousness. In deep meditation, practitioners reported feeling in tune with the universe. What were they really describing? Vibration. And today, in the age of quantum physics and AI, we're rediscovering what they knew all along. Reality is not made of things, it's made of tones, which means you are not a fixed being, you are a frequency. And the question becomes, who or what is tuning you? Because in a world vibrating with signals, from cell towers to subconscious patterns, from social noise to spiritual longing, your frequency is constantly under influence. You can be lifted into coherence or scattered into static. But if you learn the language, if you begin to hear the hidden tones beneath your experience, then the illusion begins to break. You start to feel the pattern behind coincidences. You sense the hum behind your intuition. You realize that nothing is random and everything is responding. Even now, as you read these words, your field is shifting, not metaphorically, literally. Because information is vibration and words are spells, so read carefully. You are not just absorbing meaning, you are being retuned, and this is just the beginning. Everything that lives is structured by rhythm. Planets orbit, tides rise, cells divide. Even your breath follows a beat. This is not randomness, this is harmony. But harmony doesn't just happen, it's designed, and that design, it's hidden in vibration. Ancient civilizations knew this without equations. They built temples with acoustics tuned to sacred tones. They aligned structures with celestial movements. They encoded numbers into myths because they understood math is music slowed down, and music is math made soul. And within that music, vibration becomes language, but not a language of words, a language of relationships, between notes, between patterns, between frequencies that either clash or align. This is why some spaces feel charged while others feel heavy. Why some people lift your energy and others drain it. Why your body knows things your mind cannot explain. Because your entire being is listening. To what? To the secret architecture of vibration that governs every moment, every mood, every miracle. But here's what they never taught us. You can shape it. Your thoughts have frequency. Your emotions emit signals. Your intentions carry voltage. And collectively, they construct your reality, not through magic, but resonance. Because vibration doesn't obey language, it obeys alignment. You don't get what you want, you get what you vibrate. And this, more than any doctrine, any dogma, is the real spiritual responsibility, to become aware of your own signal. To recognize when you're in tune with life and when you're dissonant. not to shame yourself, but to adjust, because the universe doesn't punish, it reflects, and that reflection begins as a subtle echo, a misalignment that grows louder, until you can't ignore it anymore. Pain, chaos, patterns repeating, all of it vibrational messages, all of it invitations to retune. This is why healing doesn't begin in the body, it begins in the field. This is why trauma doesn't just live in memory, it lives in frequency. And this is why true change doesn't happen through force, it happens through resonance. You shift your tone and the world harmonizes, not instantly, not always visibly, but inevitably, because vibration is the blueprint, and you, whether you realize it or not, are one of its architects. So ask yourself, what am I broadcasting? What field am I tuning into? What hidden symphony is shaping my reality? The answer may terrify you or set you free, but either way, you're listening now. There's a frequency beneath your habits, a rhythm behind your thoughts, and a pulse that's been guiding you silently, persistently, since the beginning. You've felt it in déjà vu, in dreams that speak with symbols, in those strange moments where time stretches and the world feels scripted. But what if it is, not in the way we fear, with control and manipulation, but in a deeper, more elegant way? A vibrational design responding to you in real time, not judging, not deciding, just echoing, because the field doesn't lie, it reflects, and what it reflects is not your words, not your wants, but your frequency. This is why your life doesn't change when you try, it changes when your signal shifts. Think of your thoughts as waves, your beliefs as carriers. Your attention is the tuner. What you focus on expands, because focus is an amplifier. You are always broadcasting, but here's the twist. You're also always receiving. Subtle cues, emotional feedback, synchronous events. Everything from the wrong phone call to the perfect timing of a stranger's words. These aren't coincidences. They're codes, encoded not in language, but in vibration. And when you begin to decode them, when you start to notice the way your outer world mirrors your inner static, something awakens. You start to realize every pain is a dissonance, every pattern a frequency loop, every breakthrough a realignment. And that realization doesn't require belief, it requires observation. Because belief is optional, but vibration is inevitable. You are emitting a frequency, whether you know it or not. So the only real question is, are you in tune with what you desire? Or are you echoing what you fear? Now is the time to listen more deeply, not with your ears, but with your field. Not to what is said, but to what resonates. Because once you learn to hear that signal, the illusion begins to dissolve. You stop chasing. You start harmonizing, and the field responds. So if you're ready to become more than a passive receiver, if you're ready to consciously align your frequency and awaken your field, subscribe and tap the bell, because the vibration doesn't stop here. This is just the tuning fork. The symphony is still ahead. In the old stories, God spoke through burning bushes, dreams, and thunder. But what if the universe speaks in subtler ways now, through frequencies, feedback loops, and the shimmering chaos we call coincidence? Welcome to the quantum field, a place where time dissolves, where cause and effect blur, where possibility isn't linear, but vibrational. Quantum physics tells us that at the smallest scale, everything is potential. Not fixed outcomes, but probabilities. And what collapses those probabilities into reality? Observation, attention, consciousness. In other words, you. You are not separate from the field. You are the field, localized, condensed, temporarily shaped into the illusion of identity. But beneath the mask, your thoughts ripple outward, your feelings imprint the field, your focus bends probability. This isn't wishful thinking, it's wave mechanics. And here's where it gets mystical. When you begin to align your frequency, not just your thoughts, but your state, with a new possibility, the field rearranges, subtly, slowly, then suddenly. What was once improbable becomes obvious. What felt distant becomes familiar. This is not manifestation. This is resonance. The more coherent your signal, the more stable your reality becomes. But coherence isn't about thinking positively. It's about truth. Authenticity vibrates higher than pretense. Gratitude moves more energy than ambition. Stillness carries more weight than noise. Because the field doesn't respond to performance. It responds to presence. And the more present you become, the more deeply you hear its whispers. A stranger says the exact words you needed. A forgotten journal reveals a future you predicted. You feel a pull, follow it, and land in the exact moment you didn't know you were waiting for. This isn't magic. This is the secret language of vibration. It's not spoken, it's sensed. And once you tune into it, the world stops being random. It becomes responsive. But responsiveness comes with responsibility. The power to shape reality is not about control, it's about harmony. You are not here to dominate the field. You're here to dance with it, to listen, to shift, to co-create. And the first step in that dance is learning how to hear, not with your ears, but with your entire being. Your body is not just biology, it's an instrument, a vibrating chamber of memory, emotion, and awareness. And like all instruments, it can fall out of tune. But here's the secret. Your body remembers frequencies your mind has forgotten. Long before you think, you feel. Long before you speak, you vibrate. Your cells hum with electromagnetic currents. Your heart produces the strongest field in your body, stronger than the brain. And that field responds instantly and intelligently to your environment, your thoughts, your hidden beliefs. You think you're just tired. Sometimes it's dissonance. You feel suddenly alive around certain people. That's not just chemistry, it's resonance. Your body knows. And when you start listening to it, not just as a tool, but as a tuning device, you begin to remember how to adjust your vibration, not through force, but through presence. Stillness becomes signal, breath becomes key, movement becomes music, and intention becomes the tuner. Because every time you hold a thought with emotion, you're imprinting the field. You're sending a frequency outward, and whether you realize it or not, the universe listens, and it responds, not with what you ask for, but with what you are. This is why forced positivity fails. Because beneath the smile, if there's fear, confusion, unhealed noise, that's the true signal. You cannot fake frequency, but you can feel it, and you can shift it, not by pretending, but by pausing, letting go, choosing coherence over chaos. So what brings you into coherence? Maybe it's music, silence, stillness, or sacred movement. Maybe it's breathwork that cracks something open, or meditation that finally quiets the noise. Maybe it's laughter, tears, surrender. Whatever it is, it doesn't add anything to you. It removes what never belonged, and what remains? Clarity, calm, a deeper tone that feels familiar. Because it is. It's you, beneath the static, beneath the programming, the original frequency that knows how to align, not because it was taught, but because it is alignment itself. This is the human instrument at its highest function, not just surviving, but harmonizing with reality, not just sensing the field, but shaping it with every breath, every word, every vibration. And once you realize that, you're no longer just a receiver. You become a transmitter of the sacred. There are moments, fleeting, fragile, when the world seems to wink at you. A sentence overheard that answers your deepest question. A dream that bleeds into waking life. A memory from childhood that returns with uncanny timing. We call them synchronicities, but what if they're not chance? What if they're reverberations? Not random signs, but resonant feedback from the field. Because if consciousness interacts with reality, as quantum mechanics now dares to suggest, then your soul is not a spectator. It's a co-creator, a sender, a receiver, a mirrored force vibrating against the unseen walls of the cosmos. And every echo returns, not as proof, as invitation to go deeper, to feel beyond the noise of survival and hear the subtle whisper that's always been calling you. You are not alone. You are not broken. You are not separate. You are a harmonic thread in the fabric of a conscious universe. But this harmony is fragile. It is disrupted by fear, fractured by ego, buried beneath distraction. And the modern world, for all its connection, produces a constant interference pattern, an invisible fog that makes you forget your own tone. So how do you return? How do you find your signal again? You don't search outside. You still yourself. You attune to the space between. That's where the secret language is, not in words, in vibration, not in thought, in awareness. And the more you listen, the clearer the pattern becomes. You realize your intuition isn't random. It's a signal, decoding higher frequencies. You sense that déjà vu isn't illusion. It's a timeline vibrating against another. You understand that emotion isn't weakness, it's guidance. Every feeling is feedback, every reaction a note, and every experience a chance to refine your vibration until it sings truth. The mystics knew this before quantum science gave it equations. They called it spirit, breath, chi, prana, energy that animates and communicates across dimensions, across lifetimes. And now, science is catching up, slowly, quietly, because truth, when too vast for language, finds its way through symbols, through sound, through synchronicity. And once you recognize that rhythm, you begin to trust, not blindly, but vibrationally. You let go, not into emptiness, but into alignment. And you discover that what you've been seeking outside, in books, beliefs, teachers, has been whispering through your field all along, waiting to be remembered, not with the mind, but with the soul. There is a silence that does not come from the absence of sound, but from the presence of something greater. It arrives when the mind finally surrenders. When the noise of the world fades just enough for something older, deeper, truer to emerge. It doesn't speak in sentences, it vibrates. And when it does, it doesn't inform, it reminds. You've felt this before, maybe in a moment of stillness that stretched wider than time. Maybe in a glance from someone who saw you beyond your story. Maybe in the seconds before sleep, when something not quite yours whispered your name. That was the language, not English, not words, not thought, vibration, because your soul doesn't speak in logic, it speaks in feeling, and every feeling, every ache, every joy, every ripple of grief or wonder is a message from the deeper field. You don't have to translate it, you have to receive it, to feel it fully, to trust its frequency, even when you don't know what it means. Because what if you don't need more information? What if you need resonance? What if understanding isn't about knowing more, but vibrating truer? Because the universe isn't waiting for your answer, it's responding to your alignment. You tune your field, and the mirror shifts. You vibrate differently, and reality bends to meet you, but only always. So now, at the end of this journey, I leave you not with closure, but with a tuning fork. Listen not to what is loudest, but to what lingers, to what keeps calling you back, to the frequency beneath your fear, because that's the real message, not in what you've learned, but in what you've remembered. You were never disconnected, you were just out of tune, and the signal, it was always singing. The question is, if your vibration could write your destiny, what song have you been singing without knowing it? Let me know in the comments, and then go listen to what the next vibration is trying to tell you. Maybe it's not just a video, maybe it's your next awakening,